Good morning, everyone. This is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm here with Sydney, and Sydney is full of it this morning, aren't you? I don't know. Can you say hi to everyone? She's found her voice, so she likes to tell me what's going on. Either that or she's ordered me around with her bark when she wants me to sit on the floor and play with her. Yes, you see her? Can you see her, Cam? Yeah, there's little Sydney. She's getting bigger. All right, go ahead, Sydney. You go with Heidi. Heidi, her leash is right here if she needs. There's that. Okay. Thank you, sweetie. All right. So this morning we're going to be talking about gloves, and I have this pattern on Alpaca Direct, and it's called the Bravo Alpaca Direct. Bravo Alpaca Gloves pattern, and I make it with either the regular Bravo or the Bravo Petites. And I was thinking for the prize this week that we could offer Bravo Petites in either this red color or the gold color. And I thought you guys can make your own set of gloves. Wouldn't that be cool, Jim?
What are the petites?
It's a worsted weight yarn that's 100% baby alpaca, made in Peru, and it makes great gloves. And it makes my favorite gloves, which is this Bravo Alpaca glove pattern that's free on Alpaca Direct. And I have these gloves here. These are the ones that I've used for about a year. And you can see they're well loved. I use them every single time I go to take the dogs for a walk. So they get a lot of use and they go in and out of my pocket. And they're so fantastic. And what I wanted to talk about is how you make the ends of your fingertips on your gloves even more lovely than they normally would be. And maybe a few things that you might want to think about when you're doing the top of your fingertips of your gloves so that they turn out really great and you have the dexterity. If you make the fingertips too thick or too pointy, you can't, your dexterity goes down on your ability to be able to touch things and feel things through that glove. So I just wanted to talk about a few points or tricks that I use to keep my fingertips looking beautiful. So anyway,
several people are coming online.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's nice to have all of you here. I don't know if it's snowing where you are, but it has a little bit of soft falling snow outside, just a fleck of snow here and there, and it's beautiful outside. Perfect time to be wearing our gloves. So this pattern that I was doing last week, here it is, and I'm moving right along on my scarf. It's much slower than I normally would be able to knit because I'm using this dark yarn. But I thought...
Tell me what that means. What does that mean?
Well, when you use really dark yarn, it's harder to see your stitches, so it slows you down a little bit. And plus, I have the puppy, so I can knit for like a few minutes, and then I'm like, Sydney, where are you? And what are you doing? Yes, mostly she's learned how to scratch at the back door. So she always wants to go outside because she knows that when she comes back in, she gets a treat. And so I've taught her to get a treat. And the way that she does it, she scratches on the back door, runs outside a few seconds, comes back in and sits very nicely. She's going, treat, please. So I have to alternate her trips outside when she comes back inside. Sometimes I don't give her a treat. I give her a pet. But she doesn't know when I'm going to give her the treat. So she does try it often. You know, Aussies are very smart. And you're either training them or they're training you. Which happens a lot with really smart dogs. So you always got to be thinking about what they're doing and what they're training you to do or you are training them to do. I know that I have Andy, my other mini Aussie, and she's doing a wonderful job. She deserves a pay raise because she is helping to teach Sydney how to go outside and go potty right away and when it's nap time and when it's not nap time and all that kind of stuff. So she's teaching Sydney our schedule. And if Sydney steps out of line, she gives her a little, either a growl or a snap or something like that. But she's ever so gentle. She just puts her right back in line without hurting her in any way. Andy is lovely. Matter of fact, I wish sometimes Andy would correct her a little more harshly than she does because she allows the puppy to pull on her and bite at her. Poor Andy, but she loves the puppy, so it can't be that bad. So this pattern that I was doing from this last week was, I have to show you the front of it. It's a walk through the Aspens, and this was Calora Hudson. And I'm using a little bit finer weight yarn, so I added another one of these repeats. So you can see my 2 repeats developing. Can you see them on the camera, Jim?
Yeah, you can see them.
Yeah, and it's really turning out nice. If you look at the back of it, I even like the back of it. It looks like stockinette stitch. Isn't that cool looking? It actually looks really tidy on the back too. And the reason why I'm using this dark color is for my loved one, so that when she is out and about, this will match with anything that she's wearing. And she tends to wear a lot of black. And so I thought this charcoal gray might be something that she would like.
Oh, there's a suggestion. Oh, that someone said you should try using a belt. So tell them about that.
Oh yes, so I went on Amazon with Sydney.
No,
oh right. Oh yes. So Heidi, she is our accountant and way more than that. She does so much for us at both of our companies. She's just a godsend. And so anyway, she has taught Oli, her doggy, and he's an Aussie too, from the same breeder. And she has taught Oli to use a bell as well. And so we have, we kind of need to do that. It actually, I think it saves your back door because we have windows that are tinted with a tint on them. And so that window tinting can be scratched. And a little Sydney likes to go with her claws. But she's so worth it. We are so thrilled with her. She is such a smart dog. So if you have never been around a miniature Aussie or been around an Aussie and you're thinking about getting a dog, check out that breed. If you like a dog that's smart and she is a busy little bee, she has the zoomies quite a bit, but I don't mind because I like going walking and stuff like that, and she'll be able to, she goes right with me. She actually, on the weekend, I took her for almost a 2-mile walk, and she kept right up with me the whole time, didn't need to be picked up, and she was fantastic. So she's getting to be the lead dog. She's out in front, and I don't know if that's good or not because she's pulling on the leash. But the beginning of this next month, on the 1st, we are going to be starting puppy class. So I'm so excited for her because she'll get to get a little more socialization, which is kind of hard right now with COVID and the Omicron virus going around and getting, it's terrible. Anyway, so here I am. These are the gloves that I'm doing that are, and I almost am done with my thumbs, and they're going to match. Do you see? And what I'd like to do, you can see there's a pattern on both sides of the gloves. What I like to do is I like to put either ribbing on my gloves or put cabling or something like that, because the reason why is with alpaca, it doesn't have a lot of stretch. It has drape and it has softness, but it doesn't have a lot of stretch, right? So there are different ways that you can get your stretch. And one way is by doing ribbing or cabling or something like that. And it gives you, it maintains some stretch in there. So that these gloves that I have now, they were much smaller a year ago. And they still fit me great. But I'll tell you that they're a little bit bigger than they were before.
It's on how warm they are.
So, these gloves are so fantastic. If you ever make alpaca gloves and you live in cold climate, you will totally love the alpaca gloves. They'll be the ones that you pull out, because I have ones that are made from wool, regular, Peruvian Highland wool and different things, and they're not nearly as warm as these are. So, a matter of fact, these will heat your hands up so well that you end up having to put them in your pocket for a little while, even when it's below 32 degrees. It heats you right up. You're going, whoa, holy smokes. It's wonderful. So I wanted to talk about, one of the things that I wanted to do for you before we get to doing our fingertips is I wanted to tell you about a few patterns that are that I really love. So I told you about the Bravo alpaca gloves that are on Alpaca Direct.
That's free.
Yes, and there is another designer, and her name is Julia Mueller, Mueller. And her first name is Julia. And she has some really nice glove patterns. And this one is called the Naughty Gloves. It's one of my favorite glove patterns. And it can be found on Ravelry, and it's free. Free. She has fantastic glove patterns that are free and more than 10 of them. And her instructions are clear and they're great. When I did this, when I've done this pattern a couple times already. And what I like to do is take this cabled section and bring it right up here into the hand, bring it all the way up into the hand. And what it does for me is it gives me that stretch that the alpaca is lacking, so that it is, well, it's lovely. You can't beat it. So look on Ravelry, Julia Mueller. She's got a ton of patterns.
There's a question real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, can you restore your gloves to the original size? So repeat this because they can't hear.
Okay, so the question from one of our viewers was, can you restore your gloves to the original size? Well, you can get them looking nice again, but to shrink them back down, you would almost have to felt them a bit, which is agitation and warm water. And I wouldn't do that, because what you're going to do is you're going to take the stretch out of them. And you want, when you put on gloves or anything for that matter, you know, if you've ever tried a pair of jeans, nowadays all jeans have stretch in them. But if something doesn't have any stretch in it at all, it's not as comfortable or as well fitting. It's harder to get them on.
She's asking if you washed and blocked them again.
You can make them look better, but I don't know about returning exactly to the original fit. I think that if you put ribbing or something in your gloves, and I'm not talking about putting ribbing on one side, I'm saying put ribbing on both sides of your gloves, okay? Stick the design or the pattern on both sides of your glove, because it does you no good to get some stretch on one side of your glove if the other side is all baggy. You know what I mean? So putting it on, don't be afraid to put it on both sides of your gloves. Actually, if you do put it on both sides of your gloves, and another reason that I love doing it that way is that your gloves are completely reversible. There's no right hand or left hand. They both look the same on both hands. So there's a benefit to putting your design on both sides of your hand. And let me tell you, I have never found that when I put cables or things that it gets in the way of the feel of my hand. It doesn't make it too bulky. What it does is it gives some stretch in your project, and it actually makes it more comfortable, returns to shape, and is actually really nice. Even if you just do 2x2 ribbing, knit 2, purl 2, it would cause your gloves to maintain their shape and be a little more stretchy. It's always up to you, whatever you like to do. I was talking to my friend Renee, who works for here at Alpaca Direct, and she was saying, well, I like to pick up 3 stitches in between each finger when I'm doing gloves. And I'm like, you know what? You do you. You do what works for you, because what works for me might not exactly work as great for you. So you have to play with it, figure out what works good for you, and you do that. You should do that. Okay, so now let's take a look at our fingertips and figure out how to avoid those pointed fingertips. And I have, my yarn is kind of a mess here. Let me just move some projects over. And I have these little tiny sample fingertips that I was going to close. Oh, hi, Sydney. Oh, hi, Sydney. Sydney brought me a plastic cup. Want to go get it, Sydney? Go get it. Go get the cup.
Someone's not babysitting.
Oh dear, she's now. Oh, she got it. There she goes. Off she goes, and that's why I knit slower for now. It's actually totally worth it. You know, having a puppy is the same as having a baby, I think. Don't you think, Jim? Mm-hmm. And so we have to give grace and realize that things aren't going to be as fast as they might be. So if this was my little finger and I wanted to make this finger top around here and make it, well, if you look at our fingers, the way our fingers are made, do you see how it's kind of just almost square? Okay, it might just be my fingers. Some people might have more pointy fingers than I do. But the trick that I like to do is decrease the tops more quickly, right? So if I was doing these fingertips, I could either do like a knit 3 together. One second. I don't know what I was doing. When I was knitting, I must have been knitting my usual tight self. Okay, so if I knit 3 together, and then I could do a knit 2 together. The thing is that when I get around to this other side over here and I'm binding these off, then I will need to get my stitches. If you have to throw in a knit 2 together in there, um, you can do that. And on here, actually kind of what I want to do is I want to get to this other side so I can just do the I want to bind off on here. Okay. Let's see here. One second. All right. What I want to do is bind off this one and not have the other 3 on there. So if you ever drop your stitches off your needle, you can kind of do what I do. And I know Norm Evans, he's an alpaca guy. And when we were doing shots for the alpacas, I said, Norm, where do you give these shots? And his comment was IA. And it's like, what does IA mean? And he said, in the alpaca. And when you're knitting, it's kind of like that. When you drop your stitches off your needle or you take them off on purpose, all you want to do is pick up the stitches, because once you have picked up the stitches, then you can fix it. And you know that a stitch, when you put it back on the needle, this right hand leg should be in the front, okay? So this right hand leg, it looks like a horseshoe. And so the right hand leg should be in the front, and that's how you know that it's mounted correctly. Just for you new knitters out there, right? So I'm just going backwards right now so I can get to my working yarn so we can finish binding off this fingertip. And then I can talk to you about a couple other little tricks that I like to use when I am binding off on my project. Whoops, oh dear. And if you have one stitch like mine, let's see, this stitch right here, you just got to bend that cord. And thank the Lord for the magic loop method. I just love the magic loop method. If you guys don't know how to do the magic loop method, you should try and learn, or at least try it and see if you like it. So on here we have 3, 6, 9 stitches. So I can do a knit 3 together. Now remember, when you're doing your fingertips and you're going to bind off more quickly, make sure that almost all, because you're only going to bind off on 1 or 2 rounds, you need to make, sorry about that. You need to make sure that the fabric of your finger goes all the way up and like covers your finger, right? Because when you're knitting the fingertip, you're not actually creating a bunch more fabric by binding off slowly. And so you want to make sure that it fits over the top of your finger. See, so I have 5 stitches on there. And so now what we can do is, I had a darning needle here somewhere, Jim. I kind of need a darning needle. Okay, well, darn. I wonder where my darning needle was. Oh, God is good. Ta-da! Darning needle. Yippee! Okay, so yes, everything is a little bit harder and a little more scattered with the puppy, but it's good. We will have the best puppy ever, and she's going to be our little camping buddy, and we take our animals with us when we go on our motorhome, and they enjoy getting out and about, and Jim and I enjoy having a puppy that is full of life, and she just amazes us at how smart and how she just has a thirst for life. Don't you think, Jim?
Oh,
yeah. You hear her over there? She's making noises. Yeah. I'm just weaving, I'm taking my tail and I'm going into these stitches, and then I'm going to take it off the needle. So we can take a look at our other tips for weaving in our ends on the fingertips. So on this one, I could have done one more knit round, but you saw what a pain it is having all these little samples on there. So I needed to get it off. So now I have my, you see how the top of the finger is not as, it's not pointy, right? But if you find that, see how you have this stitch right here that's a little bit loose? You can go, you can take this stitch and grab it and bring it to the inside. Let me see if I can show you. What you do when you're weaving in your ends on your fingers, don't weave in your ends on the outside for sure. And then don't bring it to the inside and weave in your ends on the tip. Bring it over so that you're weaving in your ends on this section or this section. Not necessarily over here, just in case anything is noticeable. But if you do it over here or on the back here, then you can weave in your ends and it still gives you some dexterity. So I'm trying to get my, I might have to just pull it through and then see what we got. So the first thing I would do is bring that right through the center, just like that. See that? And then you can take your finger and turn it inside out. You see how I got a little tiny bit, that strand just got caught on there. It's okay. You just take it off and then rethread your darning needle. Okay? And then when you're weaving in your ends for your fingers, whether you're doing gloves, this works even when you do gloves. When you pick up stitches in between and you have a hole in the center of your glove, make sure that you don't do duplicate stitch and use so much yarn in between your fingers that you have this big lump. I don't know if have any of you had that before? I've done that mistake. That's why I can tell you it's not a great mistake to make. If you can avoid having the problems that I had, then I would recommend doing that. See what I have, here's my working yarn, and my goal is to make like a W or a V, but whatever you're gonna do, don't use a ton of yarn. Complete your task. Keep the top as minimalistic as possible so that when you wear your future gloves, you enjoy wearing them and they're not all lumpy in the center or doing something round. And when I weave in my ends, you can see I'm just grabbing purl bumps because I know it's not going to show on the other side. But yeah, and so if you do that in two directions, see how it didn't create a lot of fabric? It didn't create a lot of fabric. Let's cut this off. And let's look at it at the other side. That's what it looks like on that side. That's what it looks like on the top. And here's what it looks like on the back.
Pretty nice.
Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. And then I don't have a ton of bulk at the top. It kind of fits the shape of a finger. Do you see how it fits the shape of a finger? And you got a lot of dexterity in there on the ends of your gloves when you're wearing them. You can feel things because it's not a big fat lump on the top here that prevents you from feeling stuff. And so the 3 tricks, let's talk about it again so we remember. To avoid your pointy fingers is don't be afraid to decrease quickly using knit 3 together or knit 3 together, knit 2 together. You can do 1 round of knitting afterwards, but as you saw in mine, it looked pretty good without it. So then the next little trick that I use is don't weave your ends on the very point. And definitely don't weave it in on the outside of your work. Weave it in on the inside of your work and try and get that strand of yarn off to the side on either of the sides so that it doesn't create bulk where you would be touching with your gloves. And then, oh, another trick that I've seen on different patterns that I thought was an interesting one. I haven't tried this yet, but I think it would be a good thing to do is if you're following someone's pattern and they're doing it over 2 or 3 rows and you want to just maintain their pattern, try using a needle a couple sizes smaller because it's going to decrease every stitch size, every stitch from there on out, and it makes the tip not as pointy. So just going down a needle size or 2 can help prevent that pointy tip finger. So, all right. So now let's take a look and see what our superwash merino. And you said the winner for this superwash merino was
some people joined first.
Red?
Yeah.
This one?
Why don't you just have them vote on this one first?
Okay. So the prize for today was Bravo Petites. And this is 100% baby alpaca made in Peru. And it's great for these Bravo alpaca glove pattern that I have on Alpaca Direct for free that you can get. If you want to learn how to do gloves, this is a great opportunity. You can post comments in the comment section. Let us know what you're working on. If you have a pattern that you love, don't forget to post the name of the designer and the name of the pattern so we can enjoy it with you. Maybe I can use it for a future Technique Tuesday, or I love getting ideas. And lots of times when I see those beautiful projects, I end up buying the pattern too and doing it along with you so I can enjoy it too. So the colors for today is kind of red or gold. And wonderful yarn. Perfect for these Bravo alpaca gloves. And if you've never done gloves before, an easy way to learn is do fingerless mitts and do 2 or 3 sets of fingerless mitts, right? And get yourself oriented with how to do the thumb gusset. And then once you have the thumb gusset down, don't be afraid to do gloves. I was afraid too in the beginning. And you know what? After I did a pair or 2, I don't need a pattern anymore. I just knit my gloves. I know what size needle I need for my hand, how many stitches I need, just like as if I was knitting a pair of socks. I know what the recipe is that I need for my hands. And so it's a great skill. So starting with fingerless mitts, doing 2 or 3 sets of those, and then jumping into a pattern designer that you're used to. If you do my knit club, you're used to my pattern. So using the Bravo alpaca glove pattern is fantastic. And maybe in the beginning, you can just keep it stockinette stitch like I did mine. I mean, these are my favorite gloves and they are all stockinette stitch and they have stretched out a little bit, but I can tell you they're invaluable when I go for walks. They're so soft on my hands and they keep me so warm. I mean, I can go out when it's freezing cold, and this winter has been fairly cold. And so I am never cold, and I go walking every single day with the dogs, no matter the weather. And I just stick on my boots I have permanent yak tracks on the bottom of my boots so I don't fall. And I go out and walk every single day. So I don't miss a day on that. So yes, like I was saying before, after you've done 1 or 2 sets of gloves on your own, it is so much fun. It is great fun. So I hope that you'll get something from this. I hope you've learned how to make your fingers a little less pointy and that you give gloves a try. So you said the red colorway was the winning color for this last week. And what this is, it is called Superwash Merino. It's our Alpaca Direct brand. And it means that it's machine washable merino made in Peru. And it is a fantastic yarn. And let's see who the winner was. It was Debbie Welch. Debbie, congratulations. You won some lovely yarn. You can even do a pair of mitts or anything with these Superwash Merino as well. So that would be a fantastic project, right?
What does she have to do?
All you have to do is contact customer service, Debbie, and give us your shipping address so that we can send this to you. So we know where to send the lovely yarn to you. And then you can try this and see how you like it. Totally fantastic. That's why I do the prizes every week, because I want you guys to get your hands on some of this lovely yarn and enjoy it as much as I do. So this next week, I was thinking I'm going to talk about my current favorite Valentine's scarf. I figured it's, almost Valentine's Day. We need to get on the stick. and so get to knitting our Valentine's scarf. So I will be talking about that next week. And I hope all of you have a great week out there and are staying safe and healthy. And I will talk to you next Tuesday.